All right, I want to talk about analysis here today and what's the best way for you to do it after you do your interviews. So the first thing is you're going to get your interviews done. You're going to record them with either a digital voice recorder or your phone. Whatever you have is going to work. When you do the interviews, follow the discussion guide. It's not a script. You don't have to follow it exactly. But this method will work better if you follow it fairly closely. Okay. So the first thing I have up on the screen I want you to look at here is this document here from an old project I did, and this person is Cindy. Now, after you tape record your interviews, I am going to want you to transcribe them. Okay, and they don't have to be like a professional transcription. They just have to be good enough for you to work with. This is the model that I would use, that I have used in the past, I still use now. What I have here is a date code. 0220 means I did it February 20th. 1900 means it was 7 o'clock, and Cindy was the name of the respondent. I also put it up here in the header just so it would be easy to find, no matter what page I was on. And then I did this using Word's outline function, with the big one being essentially the question, and I didn't have to fill it all in because I knew the discussion guide by heart. So this was enough to go on. How old were you? Institutionalized, support. These are all the questions that they have. All right, or that they were saying. So I'd ask the question. I'd put in just enough so that I knew what question I was asking, and then I would listen to their tape and put in the important stuff. I didn't put in the ums and the likes and the thes. I also didn't go out of my way to correct incomplete sentences and stuff. I went with as fair a representation of what their meaning was, without being too precise, as well as without cleaning it up too much. Okay, and so as you read this, you can see what they're actually saying, right? This is their experience with the support. This is their experience with the education system, and so on, right? Okay. Now, these ones this one ended up being about 4 pages. Now, this might be a really important step for those of you who are really committed to books. I am an old-fashioned kind of guy. I like paper books. I like paper analysis. And so what I used to do, and still do when I need to, is I would print up my my transcripts here, and if I had 10 of them, I'd separate them with like a pink paper or a yellow paper, whatever, and then I go and I get them bound down the side with a spiral binding. Now that's a little bit hard to do. We had a machine that made it easy, but what it essentially did is it gave me a little book to work with. Now you can binder clip them, you can staple them, I don't care how you do it. But if you're old and you want to do if you're traditional and you want to do your analysis the old-fashioned way, print this all up, get out highlighters of different colors, get out some Post-its, and start reading. And what you're looking for are main themes. So after you've read it through a couple of times and you feel the main themes emerging, I want you to highlight them. I want you to write on your reports. I want you to put stickies where they are, because what essentially you're going to do is this booklet is the data you're going to use to write up your report. I did dozens of reports this way, and it's a great way to do it. There you go. Okay. I wonder if I had an example of that. I guess you could even do it in today's world in computers with either something like Evernote or OneNote. There are some qualitative data analysis software programs, but I've never had good luck with them. So I always end up going back to paper and pencil. Someone is calling me. Okay. Now, this is just the first step. So far, we just want you to have a transcript. Now, again, if you are traditional enough that you want to print up the transcript and do your analysis on paper, that's fine, right? But regardless of if you print it up and do the analysis on paper, or if you do it the next way I'm going to show you, I still want you to do the next step because it's going to lead us to having a complete data set. All right. So the next step is I built us a spreadsheet. It's called qualitative data. You can find this in the shared drive. Okay, and I might dress this up a little bit more, but I want you to see. Oh, I already put it away, didn't I? Nope, here it is. So here's our discussion guide. This is the discussion guide you're supposed to be using for these. The first half, recall, is for students. The second half is if you end up, for those who are talking to agencies and businesses. That's great. So let's go up here. The introduction's pretty straightforward. Okay, now you'll notice this first section is the interest in the MSW section. Here is a question about your current educational system. What's your major? Tell me why you might be interested. All right, you'll notice in the qualitative data, let's call it qualitative data analysis. All right, in the qualitative data analysis, we have current educational situation, current major, likes and dislikes, why interested in social work, and what do social workers do, right? And this all fits under interest. So what I did is I took the discussion guide and I took the questions and I put them across the top of this spreadsheet. Okay, now this spreadsheet has 2 pages. So here is the students page, here is the agencies and business page. Let's make this bold and insert one left. Let's do it here. All right, so interviewer, IDI, GDI, question mark. All right, so what you're going to do is if you interviewed potential students, students or potential students, I want you to start here. If you interviewed agencies or businesses, I want you to start here. But the answers are going to be, the process is going to be the same. Now, let's put this away. Essentially what you're going to do is after you've built your transcript here, which is our raw data, our raw qualitative data, you're going to take your responses from where they are in your transcript and you're going to put them over here to where they belong in the in this thing, in the spreadsheet. Okay, now if it won't all fit because that's kind of a big chunk, and for sure this is a big chunk, what I want you to do is to distill down the idea, distill down what they're saying, and put that into the spreadsheet. All right, we need another couple more of these, and let's put some for students. Okay, so the respondent, that'll be, you put Cindy here, and then Mike here, and then this was a TDI, and then all of the answers go this way, right? All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Now what this does is it makes it so that you can look across your 2 or 3 interviews and you can see some commonalities. It's a different way of doing your analysis. Instead of reading through the whole thing, looking for commonalities and highlighting them, you're going to take them and read Cindy's answer to question 1, Rebecca's answer to question 1, and Joe's answer to question 1, right? And then Cindy's answer to question 2, Rebecca's answer to question 2, and Joe's answer to question 2. And that should help you better be able to see the overarching themes, okay? Now, I want all of you, everyone, to put their answers into the sheet here, right? So the 2 or 3 interviews you do, your name goes here, or I guess your name goes here with the interviewer. I'll sort it out. But your name goes here with the interviewer, and then you do your responses. And then the next person that accesses this, go down, leave like one line open so that there's a boundary between you and the person before you, and then you answer yours. So that at the end of this, we'll have 10 or 15 interviews all right next to each other, and we can read across them to see what the general ideas are. Okay? So it's all going to be on this same sheet. Okay. Now, what are you going to do with all of this stuff that you have found? Well, each and every one of you is going to write a small report talking about what it is that you actually found in your interviews. I've provided this individual report shell, which is also in the shared drive. Don't use this, do use this shell, but make a copy and then use it to build what you need to. But I want you to keep it all in the shared drive, because what this allows me to do is it allows me to read all of your reports and then start writing the macro report on top of that. So you guys are collecting data, you're writing mini reports, and I'm using those mini reports to write a maxi report. This is a method I've used a lot. It requires that I trust that you guys are doing a good job, but it also requires that you do it the right way, because if you do something completely different, I don't have anything to work with. But this is also why we're being very particular about making a transcript and then the spreadsheet and then the report, because if your report doesn't make sense, I need to be able to go back to the spreadsheet, and if the spreadsheet doesn't make sense, I need to go back to the original transcript, and if the transcript doesn't make sense, I need to go back to the audio file, which you're also saving in the shared drive. Okay, so what does a report look like? Put your name here so I know who it is. Put your name in the title too. Okay, so the first page is going to just be methodological stuff. On July 4th, I talked to 3 people. The interviews were an hour long each. They were all in-person interviews. I recorded them using my DVR, my digital voice recorder, and transcribed them using my laptop. It doesn't matter. That's a fine way to do it. They were all agency people. They worked for so-and-so, but do it in a blind way. So they worked for an adoption agency, a abused children's home, and something like that. Okay. All the other demographic stuff, job, age, gender, whatever needs to be put in here. Okay. Now the first page of this is going to be an executive summary. Okay. Which means if nobody reads anything, they need to be able to get the most important stuff from your report just off of this page. Okay. Now, I like it if you can take the main takeaway and put it on the first page, on the executive summary, because it says, this is what we found, right? Now, you go through and you just fill in the stuff, right? So here's the main point, here's the second point, here's the third point. As it says over here in the text box, you can use 4 or 2. There's nothing magical about 3, except 3 is a little bit magical because for humans everything comes in 3s. I don't know why, but they do. So you make 3 points, it'll make sense. You make 2 points, people feel a little ripped off. You make 4 points, their head gets a little clouded. So 3 is good. So most important stuff goes on the executive summary page. All right. Now these are sub-findings pages or detailed findings pages, and it's entirely adequate on these pages to go through and mostly answer the questions as they were responded to, right? I mean, it could be as straightforward as, for question 3, just say some statement about what everyone said about question 3. But give me the analysis. Don't just tell me what they said. Tell me what they said in common. Tell me what was different about what they said. I need you to do the higher order thinking, not just descriptive, but also don't do too much creative writing either. You get the idea. But that's what qualitative analysis is. Okay. And then use as many pages as necessary. You can just keep duplicating this out when you do yours. That's absolutely fine. I was thinking I should move one more. Let me show you an old one. There's one I really like, which I would like you to see. Nope, not Indian gaming. This one I show a lot of people. Many of you have already seen it. I will make a copy and put it in the share drive. Okay. Move to. Okay, now let's go back. Well, let's just open this one. All right, now the reason I'm putting this in here is as we go forward, I'm going to want you to think about how we're going to write this thing. I don't mind at all if, as the interviews go on, you guys are talking with each other. Please feel free to use the Slack channel to do this. It's a good idea to kind of bounce your ideas off of each other so you get something like what we would get if we were having a brainstorming session in an in-person classroom. But I want you to be able to talk to each other and say, here's what I'm finding, here's what I'm finding. Do you have anything that's supporting this? Do you have anything that's disagreeing with this? But I have a very specific way of writing these reports, which I want you to listen to now, and which, while your mini reports aren't this rigid, it should still help you make some sense of it. Okay. Let's see. So one of the first things that I try and do is, so here's the introduction. All right. When it comes to writing PowerPoint reports, one of the problems that people run into is, and I got to admit, professors are terrible at this, but they will take like this. This is what it often looks like. They'll put a title up here, but that title's not super informative. Research objectives. I just know it's the research objectives page, but I don't really know anything else. Whereas if I look at this, this is not saying, introduction to the problem, page 1. This is saying this is the first generation of adults who've remained at home as they lived into adulthood. If this slide were a paragraph, this top box here is the thesis statement, the takeaway point of the slide. I'm sure you've heard of speed reading tactics, where, for instance, you read the first sentence in each paragraph because that should be the thesis sentence. That's exactly what we're looking at here. You want to read this, and you want it to be the first page, the thesis statement for the whole paragraph. That's what the top box in a PowerPoint slide should be at best, right? And then I went ahead and down here are the 3 main points that support that, or that explain that. Same thing happens here. Anecdotal and community partner evidence, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is a main statement, and then these sub-bullets just support that statement. I should move this over here so that you can see it when I put my face on here. All right. Research objectives, not awesome. Methodology. When I wrote this, I couldn't think of a cool methodology statement, so there you go. All right, blah, blah, blah. Here's the executive summary. Now, your little report is going to be like, I don't know, 5 or 10 pages or something. And this beast is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, which is fine. But the executive summary is still the executive summary, okay? Now, if there was one takeaway statement, one sentence that this whole report supported, it was this one here. Trust, control, and continuing engagement are the most common parental concerns with living arrangements. Like everything else in the report is below this main point. Okay, this is the main takeaway point. That's what's going on. Now, here are 3 tremendously important points which reinforce that main point. But this is exactly what I'm looking for here. I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to get this and they're going to read just a handful of pages, right? And the pages they're going to read are going to be the executive summary. So the executive summary has to capture what I need, right? So here's the main point number 2 in terms of the executive summary. Parents are minimally aware of realistic options, okay? And here are the points that support that, okay? Here's another point which had to be included. This is also an important point. It wasn't anything we directly asked about, but it was an important thing about the way that people responded, okay? But again, 1, 2, 3. You can see you can see what's going on here. All right, so here's the detailed findings. Okay. If you look at the detailed findings, you'll notice this matches a little bit the individual report shell I put in there for you. So here's the top box, the takeaway point. Here are the supporting points, again, if this is a paragraph, and here are the verbatims. I didn't put verbatims on the main executive summary because just because we'll save that for deeper in the report. But I do want verbatims in here, and the reason for this is in a qualitative environment, people's words are your data. And so when you say, here's what I think they're saying, it's good to be able to back it up. Now, yeah, that's good enough. Sometimes people will say, well, you can cherry pick, and of course you can cherry pick, but quantitative researchers cherry pick their data sometimes also. Being honest with your data is being honest with your data, and cherry picking is cherry picking. There's no way, I mean, that's just a problem no matter what. But when you make an assertion, here you are able to back up that assertion. All right, that's what the verbatims are for. All right, several layers of trust on family's mind. Now, what's important about this is I want you to recognize that the first few slides of the executive summary end up echoing the first few slides of the detailed findings end up echoing the executive summary. So the same pattern is in here. We're just breaking it out a little bit more deeply. Okay, so this is the same as the introduction. Here's the executive summary. Point number 1, trust. And here's stuff about trust. Point number 2, control. Here's stuff about control. Number 3, the children's autonomy. Notice it up here. Continuing engagement is what we got at there. But that's what this is. This is they want them to be involved in the community. Number 4, more community involvement. Okay? And then we start getting into the extra stuff, the stuff that's important, yes, but not important enough to go on the executive summary. And we have a dozen or more pages of these. And then the detailed findings is also broken out by subtopic. I don't know if we're going to do that with this one or not, but again, look at the way the top boxers are written versus the way you probably think about PowerPoints normally being written. You put a nice sentence at the top, support that sentence so that each slide in your deck is a coherent paragraph, right? And it makes it just flow very nicely. Further, if you've got someone, and our job is to find the information, but then make the information clear and easy to understand for our clients, not to make it difficult to understand to make ourselves look smart, but to help the client understand so the client can look smart in front of his or her boss. Okay, so if you've got someone who's just going to skim the report, you want them to be able to know what they're reading, what the takeaway is on the whole report by reading the whole report, but then also when they want to know something deeper, as they're reading the top box here, flipping through, reading the top box, they can say, oh, this is interesting, and then jump down and read the next bit. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah, this one goes on and on. All right, and then we asked about siblings. Okay. So what do we have here? Let's review this then. So, taking the study guide, we're doing the interviews, we're recording the interviews. Then after we record the interviews, we are transcribing the interviews in a way that's faithful to what the person said and meant, but without being faithful to what the person said and meant, but without being too difficult to do, right? And I showed you this transcript here, Cindy's transcript, just so you can see a way to do it, all right? And then if you want to analyze this, print these up, get some highlighters, markers, post-it notes, underline, get a paper over here and write out what you think the main takeaways are, what the important stuff is here. You're going to make your notes, and then that's what you're going to put in your report. Whether you do your analysis this way or the next way, I still want you to take the next step and put your results into this data sheet in the shared folder. And if you didn't do the analysis the transcript way, then you're going to do your analysis by essentially reading down the cells. What did the person say about this? What did the person say about this? What did the person say about this? And you're going to be able to say, here's where the respondents agree, here's where they disagree, right? Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And then, when it comes time to write your mini report off of your interviews that you've analyzed, you're going to follow the model that I showed you. You want a methodology page, give me all the boring details, and then you want to give me the most important information first. This may be the exact opposite of how you've written your college papers to now. That's absolutely fine. Give me the most important thing first, the second most important thing, the third most important thing, and then break it out as long as you need to. Okay? And if you're unsure what that should look like, that's what the NDSC report is in the video, not the video, in the shared drive for you. Because I want you to be able to look at the NDSC report and get an example of a decent way to write PowerPoints. I don't know if I'm great, I don't know if I suck, but this is the way I want you to do it, so this is the way you're going to have to do it. I like this. Hopefully you like it too. Okay. I think that's everything. If you have any questions at all, feel free to send an email, ask in the Slack channel, and yeah, it'll be awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. Okay.